I think the only reason why I'm still here is because of my children.
Hmm.
Um, there was no other choice. There was no other choice for me. I had to keep going.
Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to the Eat Real to Heal podcast. I'm your host, Nicolette Riche, and on today's podcast, I have the very beautiful, talented, lovely, generous individual, Janine Züst, on the show to talk about her beautiful book, Beneath the Shimmering Surface, a children's story about addiction and hope. And I think that title says it all. So we're just going to get right into the show as it is, and discover why, Janine, you wrote this book. But first, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
it is a pleasure. So I was introduced to Janine through a mutual friend who's now actually working for us. He's come on as a fundraiser for our company, Scott. And he told me about you many months ago, told me about this book that you had written. I was very excited to read it. And of course, I came in with huge judgment because often when I see people being a psychedelic therapist, I see a lot of people writing books on addiction and they treat addiction like it's a chemical imbalance in the body. But despite how much information we have out there that also shows, or sometimes shows that it's not a chemical imbalance, it's not a disease, but it's the result of trauma. It's the result of our personal stories. It's the result of our upbringing. It's the result of so much more, just being alive as a human being in this society with so much stress and so much pressure, and often the result of trying to move away from pain. And so I only discovered this for myself over the last 10 years because I grew up with an alcoholic father, a father who had alcohol use disorder. We call it so many different things, and I'm not sure if we have the correct term for it yet, but I'll say that suffered from a lot of pain and was always trying to move away from that, feeling the pain, feeling the feelings, feeling the emotion, and so used alcohol to numb. Um, my dad is 3 years sober. I had an experience which we can get into later, but he's 3 years sober. He quit cold turkey after I had my experience and shared it with him. And he's been this beautiful, spiritual, loving, present father, which he wasn't growing up. And it caused a lot of torment in our household. And I've talked about it a lot on this show, but we actually haven't, being an Eat Real to Heal podcast, it's usually all about food as medicine to heal the body from depression, anxiety, and chronic diseases. So this is actually the first show that we've had where we're actually just focusing on um, addiction and hope, which is, I love that your book addresses both. So I want to just first thank you for taking the time to write your story and taking your time to be on the show to share your story, which I know is not always easy.
Yeah, you're really welcome.
So let's, where do I want to start? I want to start really by asking you, like, why did you take the time to write this book? A lot of people go through this, and many people do not write books about their experience.
Yeah, I think my personality is a little bit like this, that I need to do things. I need to feel like I'm solving a problem. I need to feel like I'm attacking something and be active and proactive about things. So when my ex-partner started to fall into this sickness, um, he I was looking for literature that could help me explain to my children or start a conversation with my children around that topic that is so difficult to just to tackle. Like, you are in a shock at that moment, you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do. And therapy wait lists are quite long, so you're just trying to find literature to explain addiction age appropriate. And I couldn't find at that moment. just not quite what I would like to have had. And so the idea came up that I should probably create something for other people that are in similar situations that could help, just have a sit down and start a gentle introduction into this very complex topic. Yeah, that's kind of where it all started. And it was in my head for a long time because I was like, I can't do this, and why would I? And
And who
I'm
am I to do this? And
yeah, because I can come from a therapeutic place. I'm not. I'm a product designer. I do graphic design. I come from the art world. So then I was just like, okay, that inner voice just got louder and louder, and I felt, beside I did therapy too, my kids as well, and beside that, it was another tool for me to work through my own emotions. Because if you create things, you're just reliving and everything comes back up. And I
yeah.
was crying a lot during writing and illustrating this book. Um, yeah, that's
Yeah, and I love what you said about that, that it became a therapeutic process for you as well. And something that I've done over the last few years is to write. And I always knew I'd be a writer, but I never studied writing formally, and I knew it would happen. I didn't know in what context it would happen. And so really over this last year, I've started to tell my own story through writing, through flying solo and Tracy Aaron Smith. And then through that, I've been reading a lot of memoirs of writers, people like basically over the last few years, that's all I read is the memoirs of writers. Like, how did they become writers? And
Mhm.
many of them say that they write to understand how they feel and to know what they know. And it's through the act of writing that happens. You get in touch with what is actually inside of you, that comes to the surface. You get to see it, you get to reflect on it instead of burying it deep inside of ours and
Mhm.
inside of ourselves. And I think writing is one of those beautiful ways to do it because it requires you to tap into, like, what is it that you're feeling right now? What is it that you're experiencing? What do you know? What do you not know? And sometimes by writing it, you discover all of those things. So yeah, very, very healing therapeutic tool. Many tears flow, like I've never seen happen before. So I do love it as a tool for anybody who's out there listening. If you really want to get in touch with yourself, start writing your own personal story. You're not wrong. You don't need to be an expert in any area of anything because you are the expert on your own life and your own experience and what you've been through, and no one can take that away from you. Is the beautiful thing. So you don't need to be a therapist. And I love that you're combining art, your gift of art, and now with storytelling and bringing those two together because it's through art as well, which I think is one of the most healing things on the planet. I think art will help heal the world as well, just as much as food as medicine heals the world and psychedelics heals the world. But art is a tool for that as well. So I think it's just natural that you brought the two together and that you had the courage to do that as well, because I recognize it does take courage to share your story and then to put it out in the form of a book as well. So I want to ask just for individuals, if we can go into the story, like you married an individual, you must have been in love, or maybe you can share a little bit about that. And did you know much about addiction before you were together? And then I'm asking lots of questions all at once, obviously, but I want to give you space to share your story. And then when did you first discover it? Was it before the kids, after the kids were born? If you can just take us through that journey.
Hey, beautiful humans. Scott here from Team Richer Health. Let's get real for a moment. We're living through a mental health crisis. Rates of anxiety, depression, and PTSD are higher than ever. And for so many people, the usual treatments just aren't working. That's why I want to talk to you about psychedelics. That's right, psychedelics. It's a hot topic right now, and honestly, I love that we're finally having this conversation. It's not about the party stories, it's not about the stigma, but the real evidence-based healing. For centuries, traditional cultures have used plant medicine to heal. Now science is catching up, with thousands of studies supporting that psychedelic therapy can help people with mental health disorders, anxiety, depression, and also those seeking deeper creativity, spiritual growth, resilience, and an overall well being. That's all of us humans. Dr. Nicolette Richer is a certified psychedelic therapist, and she describes it as one of the most beautiful additions to her healing work. Over the years, she's had the privilege of guiding people through safe, ceremonial plant medicine sessions, and what she's witnessed is nothing short of profound. Talk about profound. I've experienced this firsthand, freedom from trauma that's held me hostage for years, finding laughter, peace, grace, and a life's purpose. Something I was yearning for decades. This isn't fringe anymore, it's real. It's happening, and it's raw and beautiful. And if you want to dip your toes into this universe, I recommend watching How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan on Netflix. It's a beautiful documentary that explores the history, the science, and real potential of psychedelics. If you're feeling the call, and if you're curious but unsure, you can book a free consult with Dr. Nicolette Richer. Let's see if this might be the path forward for you. You'll find the link in the show notes, or you can contact us directly at richerhealth.ca. Thank you so much for listening.
So I didn't really grow up in, well, my father as well struggled with alcohol addiction his whole life. I grew up in that kind of household where it was unpredictable, there was a lot of fighting, he was not present. But besides that, like other drugs were not really in my life, and I never really experienced any hard drugs. I grew up in Switzerland, and in the 90s there was a little bit, well, there was quite a big drug scene in Zurich, and I went to school there, to an art school, and I could see people shooting up heroin on the stairs when I came out of the train station. So that's kind of like, but that was a shock effect for me. Like I could never, that's so horrible to watch. And so when I met my ex-husband or partner, um, there it's in his family, like his dad, his sister overdosed. So it was, I could see already the presence, but I didn't really understood the whole big horrifying picture or
Mhm.
devastating side of it, or how far it can go really,
Mhm.
and what it kind of can encompass in it. So I started to see it very early on. It's there, but I didn't see him using, or he was more on the side of like, I just don't want to go that way.
Mhm.
Um, and then we moved to more the mountain area, and we had two kids, and then shortly after that, I think it was when uh, he wouldn't come home for
Mhm.
nights, like he was not very happy anymore. And then it started to trickle in, but with like cocaine.
Mhm.
And I thought he has an affair and won't come home. And I was like, okay, on a certain point I had to be like, hey, are you going somewhere? Do you have another woman somewhere? Because, you know, some partner not coming home all night. I couldn't reach him. He wouldn't pick up the phone. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. So there was a lot of fear in that time. And I felt already very alone in this because I couldn't open up to my friends at that time.
Mhm.
And then he just said that he's not feeling good, and that he's sitting on top of a mountain and using and looking down and feels depressed. And so that's when it started to show, but not just slowly. And then yeah,
And
just
and that's often how it starts, is slowly, right? With
yeah,
addiction. It's that, the more we use, the more it gives us reprieve from what's coming up and what we're feeling. How old was he at this time? And how old were you at this time when this was happening? And how old were your kids?
My kids were probably 3 and 5-ish. I was 35. He was young. He was 7 years younger than I am.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it was
And
intense.
it's so hard because especially having kids, the minute we introduce kids into a relationship, like the amount of stress and the sleepless nights. And so if we have stress that we're not managing, if we have emotions that we're not managing, now it's like there's almost no room to even address them, to think clearly. And most of the time we're trying to move away from sleep deprivation. So we do that with coffee, which
Yeah,
then depletes us even more. And, mothers, like I've seen memes where they joke around, like, my kids need me to have a coffee in the morning, otherwise you're just going to be asleep. But my kids also need me to have a glass of wine at night so that, I'm calm and I can, because it's just there's so much going on. And so we all of a sudden get dependent on these. Coffee is a drug,
yeah,
wine is a drug. Um, yeah, and it's just so hard. And I've seen it with, a dear friend of mine that suffered from addiction from very early on. He had been sober in Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous for, I can't remember, it was probably like 15 years by this point, and then he had a baby. And
mhm,
all of a sudden, he just like found it harder to focus at work because he's deprived, not making enough money because now his wife is on mat leave, and so only earning like 45% or 55% of what they were currently earning. So the stress, not being able to communicate about it because now the husband is trying to support the exhausted mother who's breastfeeding all the time, and so he just did what I think many people would do. He just went and saw a psychologist and said, I'm really stressed. And the psychologist referred him to a psychiatrist in 5 minutes. Then the psychiatrist prescribed a drug and said, this will help you focus. And he even went back to the psychiatrist and said, hey, I'm an addict, and this says you should not take this prescription drug when you're an addict. And the doctor said, no, 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 it'll be fine. You'll balance everything out in a few weeks. No, he took the first pill and it was done. He was like going from pharmacy to pharmacy trying to grab everything, but it was in the name of trying to support his family to be
yeah,
able to show up at work.
yeah,
But it just immediately, took hold. And so I've seen it firsthand. But in chatting with him about that, when he finally, after many months of this, came clean to his wife and to us, um, and then had to start from day one again. But we learned about so many other dads that were also did exactly the same thing, right? And there's almost feels like there's already no support for the women, I find, when they have a baby, but also no support for the men as well.
absolutely. Yeah, and in this area, that's also we have to say something about coming from a line of trauma, right? And you're a product of environment, and men or boys are not quite told to talk about their feelings. What nowadays more, but that generation already or still.
Mhm.
And so there was a lot of like things happening in him all the time, and I was always encouraging him to talk about it, but especially the loss of his sister, it was massive. It was a very dramatic event, and he was never able to talk about it. And I think what happened, we had the two kids, and it made him feel better. He had my love before,
Mhm.
and so it was always kind of like carrying him that. And then, like you said, when women have kids, they just, they get tired. We have to, we work, we nurse, we
Yeah.
create, we make sure everybody is fine. But the amount of attention that I could give him was not the amount that I could give him before, because there's just two additional little humans in your life. And I think then because there was no base, then it started to he started to slip, and he realized that I couldn't I- I'm not the reason for him to be happy, right? He needs to find his own happiness inside him, and he can't expect that other people can do that for him. And or other substances. But at that point, he went to the substance, and that went very horrible.
Yeah, and there's the other side of it as well that I see all the time is that, in your 20s, you're so busy figuring out the world and your career and bouncing around. So we have all these distractions. But then you slip into your 30s and things start to slow down, and then your 40s. And so we naturally see that, and I've seen this for thousands of clients over the last 20 years, that as they're approaching their 40s, all the memories from their childhood come up,
Mhm.
right? And so now sexual abuse that they didn't even realize they experienced, all of a sudden they're like, why am I having these memories? Like me realizing I was like, oh my God, I am the product of a narcissistic mother and an alcoholic father, a father with alcohol use disorder. And my life was stressful. Like I only recognized that in my 40s. And what that did to me is it turned me on my head. I have all the tools and resources to know, like, like to get a therapist, to do it all. So
Mhm.
for me, and I was very much aware about addiction. I had processed my rape. I had done so many different things. So I wasn't trying to numb. Instead, I was moving into a place of exploration. Like I want to understand all my life, but that's not the case for a lot of people. It almost hits
Yep.
them like a truck in their late 30s and 40s when they realize what their life was really like. So these truths start to appear on top of being exhausted because your kids are still young, and financial stress living in, beautiful British Columbia, one of the richest places in the, world, wealthiest places in the world. And, so then you have that on top of it. And I see that happen all the time. So, and it happens to doctors, the clients of mine, nurse clients of mine, people who have access to all of the services, but it's often not enough when you are
Mhm.
sort of like hit with the truth of who you are and your existence. And of course, that makes sense as we're approaching midlife,
Mhm.
right? And
Yep.
so there's just so many things hitting us, and we are not raising ourselves and our families and our partners in a community that can hold that space for us. We're often struggling on our own to do this.
Mhm. We are not quite equipped. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And so I just want to go back to, you're experiencing this. He's starting to use more and more often. He's not coming home. You're at home with these little kids, but you did mention that you didn't talk to your friends about it. Or did you? How was that for you?
No, first I was just kind of down. Like I didn't want to go there. I just was like, no, we have this beautiful family. I had a good job. He had his own company. Everything was going well. We had a beautiful life. And I was just, I don't know why I did this. I don't know. I don't know why I wouldn't wanted to see the reality of it or the severity of it. And then my best friend, who was also helping me with the video, the launch video and everything, and was amazing during the whole time, stood beside me. She kind of was like, something is going on. And then she kind of had to pull it out of me.
Mm,
And then from there, more were kind of got involved in it. And we also had like a intervention kind of, or not intervention, we wanted to make one. But when we sat all together and like, what do we do? How do we do this? Um, and then it just didn't happen. And yeah, I don't know.
which
It's
I can relate to that. I mean, here I grew up in a family where we all watched my dad drink and drink and drink. I mean, he was a functional alcoholic, so it
Mhm.
made it even more confusing because he would never be late for work, never miss a day of
Yeah,
work, but would drink every moment outside of work. And so nobody said anything because he actually became happy and fun when he
yeah,
drank.
yeah.
So then it was so confusing to me. I'm like, why isn't anybody else in my family saying anything? So then I didn't say anything for a long time.
Mm.
And I think I might have been one of the first to say, like, I think dad's a drunk, like
Yeah,
literally an alcoholic. And my mom also was in this place of like once a year waking up and being like, I think your dad's an alcoholic. And I'd be like, really? No shit, mom. Like, do you see how many bottles of wine and whiskey and everything you can? But it was still,
yeah,
so then when that's happening, it messes with your mind, right? And you're like, well, is it that bad? Or
yeah,
it's all the stuff that you say until
yeah.
it gets so bad,
And
right?
and even then. even then, you are so slowly going into it that you don't even realize how crazy
Yeah.
it became. Like
Right.
how, yeah, if you would step in from one day to another and you would look from above and would be like, no, this is unbelievable that you stayed so long in such a situation.
Yeah.
But it's just happened so slow and you get so used to it and you keep on um making excuses to
Mhm.
yourself and for him.
Yeah.
It's so unhealthy. Um, yeah, until it literally blows up as like, I don't know, accidents or people calling from jobs that he didn't showed up, or we saw the car on the side of the road, or like it needs to, or overdose, or like it needs to, life is knocking on your door and it gets louder until you listen, and until then it just keeps on going, right? So it was, yeah,
Yeah. And it's,
had to go very loud in my case.
yeah, and just, they say in AA, the hardest part is just admitting that, the individual is using drugs or has alcohol use disorder. And, but the same applies to the family members, right? It's the hardest part is just admitting like this is actually the case, like this is the reality of it.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like, who do you call? Like we did an intervention as well for my dad, and I had to tell my brothers, hey, dad's an alcoholic. Do you know that? And they were kind of like, well, he drinks a lot. And I'm like, no, like I'm there the most because I'm the daughter. So I'm always present in their house. But I'm like, and so to convince them, but the problem was in sharing that with them, then it brought up their own drinking
Yeah.
habits. And
Yes.
then that was something I was like, oh gosh. So then they almost, it seemed like they felt attacked in a way.
Yeah, they protect. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Totally.
and so then it was like, oh my gosh, am I going to have to do this by myself, like go against my family? And my mom would kind of be on the fence because she didn't want to admit that she also was living with and had been married to somebody who also had alcohol use disorder, suffered from addiction, and she didn't understand it. Like, why? I don't understand why he just doesn't stop drinking. Like, she could not make sense of the fact that it was attached to his own trauma, his own upbringing.
Yeah.
So then that was hard. So it felt like myself against my family in addressing it. And I don't know, what that must have been like for you because you're also, this is the partner you chose to be with, you chose to have kids with, um, and living in this beautiful community, like you said, needing to uphold probably your own work, show up every day, right? So
Yeah.
the minute you start to do an intervention, like I remember thinking, like, do I have time to do this? I think I don't have time to do
Yeah.
an intervention, right? And to
Yeah.
help my dad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a slow process and it just takes as long as it takes, right? Everybody is different. Um, I think for me it was, well, we moved I because he was so unhappy where we were living and he wanted to be back on Vancouver Island, and that's where he comes from. And I was like, okay, like if that is gonna make you happy, then we should do that. So we sold our place and we moved here, and and then it's when everything really, really, really went bad really quickly. And I had to catch him on the video camera from the house outside downstairs, showing the crack pipe, like him smoking crack, to for me to see it on a screen,
Right.
and for me to be able to show him,
Mhm.
this is what's going on right now. Like we are here right now, and this is what's happening. This is like, and he denied it. He denied it. He's like, no, that's not me. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is you. But he was like, no, that's not me. He denied it so for maybe another month.
Yeah.
Um, until I was like, okay, now this is just not safe anymore for anybody, like for especially for the kids. Um, yeah. But yeah, he didn't came home. He did whatever he wanted. He
Yeah.
brought people around that shouldn't be around. Yeah,
Mm,
there's a lot that start to change. The whole friend, the job loss doesn't,
yeah.
yeah, so,
Well, and there's two interesting parts. So I just want to remember here. I'm going to just take a quick note. Okay, and then so there's one piece I want to. So number one about moving. It's
yeah,
interesting because that is a natural response for a lot of people. Like if we just change the environment,
and then,
it's going to get better. But wherever you go, there you are. And it just follows you, just follows you. And also, we often think like we change ourselves and then that person will heal. But really, the only place that healing can come from is from within that individual as well.
yeah, they need to be ready,
Yeah,
and you can try, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's your own making.
yeah.
So,
So that's huge because a move is not a small thing when you have young children and you have careers and you think like, okay, if
yeah,
we just move to this place, it's going to be better. But no, it in fact often I think can backfire because you think the change is going to be good and then you realize, nope, there you are and nothing's changed really. And then that could be hard because you've just gone through something so massive. So for him as well, I can imagine just what that might have felt like, right? Like
yeah.
making the whole family move, doing all of that.
Hmm.
The other part about this is that you mentioned him not seeing himself, like denying that he saw. I'm sure there's a psychologist or a therapist that would have a perfect, psychological reference term to describe what that is. But the way I see it, though, him watching himself with the pipe and saying, that's not me, I actually believe what he said. And the
Hmm.
reason is because, studying internal family systems, IFS, there's many different parts of ourselves, and the true, whole, healed, loving version of ourselves would look at that and say, but that is not me. I don't even know who that person is who's doing that. And so there's actually a lot of truth that I hear in that, right? But then with that person, the person who is smoking the pipe, who is inviting the friends over, that, you're that he'd be looking at himself saying, well, wait a minute, that I would never do that. That's not my intention. But as it's happening, you can't stop yourself because the pain is just so big, right? And it just takes over. And in a way, it's a protective, like I better smoke whatever or take whatever to numb that pain because the person I would be without it is somebody else entirely
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just too painful. And we see that all the time where people are just moving from one pain and trying to just stay away from that as much, and they'll do whatever it takes to stay away from that. Right. Versus in probably similar to what you did as well. Right. Like it's easier to move than it
yeah.
is to face what is
Face
happening.
reality, yeah,
But that's two different pains, right? Like moving is one of the hardest, most stressful things on an individual, but in a way, it's not just the person with the addiction that's trying to do the same. We're maneuvering in the same way.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And so what did it look like for you did you eventually do the intervention?
No, at that point, a friend of his, like his best friend, they know each other since I believe kindergarten or earlier, came here. I because I didn't even know what crack smells like, or like, and I called earlier before I showed him the screen and stuff. I was like, this is a weird smell. It's not like, I don't know. And then he was like, well, can you see anything else? Any equipment? And I'm like, well, you turn into a police officer as well. It's insane. Like you go through any bag, yeah, you turn into someone you don't want to be, really.
Of course, yeah.
So, um, he came and it was before Christmas, right before Christmas. I think I believe 3 or 4 days. Everything is a little bit blurred
Of
from
course.
that time, but yeah, it was right before Christmas, and they removed him, and he had to be a little bit forcefully removed because he wouldn't want t- to leave us. He
Of
wouldn't want to
course, yeah.
go, and he was crying. It was heartbreaking to see him, but he was already such a different person. Like he was there, the glimpse came out of him again when he left, like when they took him, just really like a little child. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so yeah, it was brutal. And my kids crying and
Mm.
me crying and him crying and his friend crying, and everybody knew it's for the best, but him probably. But yeah, it was a very abrupt uh change.
And where did he go at that point? Like, was there a place
Um,
to go?
he they I believe at that point they brought him to the friend, and then his mother was there as well, and
Mhm.
his family, and then he went to the first time into rehab.
And that was his first time in how many years?
Well, he has well, what he shared later on, he has had addiction problems since 12.
Right. Yeah.
Like he was doing all kinds of stuff
Yeah.
since an early age.
Mhm.
Like first cigarette, I think was 9, and then weed 12, and then cocaine very
Yeah.
soon after, and then other things. Um, yeah. So
And was,
he never went into rehab
oh,
before.
he never ended up going to rehab?
No, he went, but that was his first time.
Oh, that was his first time. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then he recognized that he had, yeah, had addiction challenges since he was very young.
Yeah.
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 And
Uh,
then was the intention that he would go to rehab and then he'd come, what was happening? What were you feeling in your heart at this time?
um, I it was like a shock. I think it was during COVID,
Oh, wow.
and I had started chest pain. Like I had this chest pain, like really tight. I sometimes felt like I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Hmm.
It felt so painful, and I was like, "Ah, I have COVID. I think I have COVID."
Yes.
And then I called my doctor. I was like, I really have this chest pain. And he was like, well, did anything dramatic happen in your life? And I'm like, well, yeah. He's like, yeah, well, just you just have a anxiety, and
Yes.
I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Well, if you've never felt anxiety, you don't
No,
realize it can feel like a literally
no,
you're dying, like a heart attack.
yeah, it was like it was like pinching and like sweating and heart races and
Yeah.
just this really tight. I just had this chest pain all the like for months.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, and then I kind of like I just took care of my children. We had Christmas alone. It was just
Mhm.
this weird, I felt like I'm in a dream. I'm in a nightmare basically.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep anymore.
No, when you have
Oh,
anxiety, it's so hard to sleep. Your brain is
God.
just constantly racing
Yeah,
and yeah,
yeah,
trying to problem solve and wonder like how am
yeah,
I going to get you're living so much in the future
yeah,
and so much in the past, not
yeah,
able to be fully present.
yeah.
The
No.
pieces, yeah.
And then I just called crisis lines
Hmm.
like every
So
night because I was like, I need to talk, I need to cry, I need someone to listen, and
good.
my friends, and but there was any free crisis lines. I was
Good
uh,
for you. I would never have
calling.
thought to call. Like amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and my parents, and like friends that were capable of listening.
Yeah. Did you go to Al-Anon or any of the support
Yeah, yeah. Later on, I went.
groups? How did
Um,
you find that?
in the beginning, super supportive because it was just comforting and sharing and hearing that I'm not alone
Mhm.
and that I'm also not going through the worst situation.
Right.
Honestly, that was like it's as bad as it sounds, but it can also always be worse.
Yeah.
And and just be surrounded by people who know exactly what you're going through.
Yeah. And you went through like I know what you've shared already is not the extent of everything you went through.
No, no, there was a lot of other things happening that um
Yeah.
police are involved in, and people coming to my door in yeah, there's a whole huge events that happen with all that, and
Mm.
um
Financial crisis and
financial, like, huge, still cleaning up till now. um yeah, I it was probably it's just, your life is just turning upside down, and you don't it's like hard to grieve too, because he's still alive,
yeah.
and you are afraid that he's overdosing. So I'm always like, I was always, because I love him still. I love him very, very much. He's a beautiful human, and
Mm-hmm.
I love him very, very much. So you're in constant fear that you get a phone call that they found him. Um,
And then you have to tell that to your children.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of, of course, I tended to go always the worst case,
Yeah, because we
you
do that as
know?
humans. Yeah.
Yes.
Most of us
Uh,
are not like, he's gonna be fine. No.
yeah. So it was, yeah, there's just so many nuances in the feelings you have, and you love him, but you hate him
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, and you despise him, and you know that he's not that person that he became, because he is just consumed from this addiction. The drug suck his personality out, and he is just what the drug does. And I had to learn not connect that, and don't take it personally, because he's just in this state right now. This is not my partner or my ex-partner. This is someone completely different, because his core is still somewhere there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I needed to make this differentiation, and it took a long, like, years to, like, a couple years to really be able to do that. And of
Yeah,
course,
that's a big thing, I imagine too, to thinking like, could I have done something differently? Could I have stepped in sooner? Like I'm sure,
yes,
yeah, you just start
100%.
questioning everything about
Yeah,
you when really it is truly about this human
yeah.
and the things that they need to address within themselves and the things that they need to come to terms with and
Mhm.
the truths, the hard truths that they need to see about their existence here on earth. And it's yeah, to not take it personally is probably one of the hardest things for any human to learn in any situation, but then apply this and it's, really requires everything within you. And is your family at this whole time back east, or do you have any family support here during all of this? Or not back east, but
They're
in
in
Switzerland, I mean.
Switzerland. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. They were
pretty far
there.
back east in Switzerland.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that was hard for them uh to feel so removed from it, and feel like helpless, I guess, at times. And but they came and visited, and since then they come every year.
Mm,
Um yeah, they have been pretty amazing.
mm.
But yeah, it was hard to not have family, that I feel like I could be who, you
Just to
just,
go to their house and collapse on their couch and just sleep
yeah,
like you do when you get to your
yeah,
parents' house. Even as an adult, I can still go to my
yeah.
parents and just, yeah, be able to.
And I could have done that where I was before, but we moved, and so my
Mm.
social circle was not there, and then it was COVID, and it's
My
just like
gosh.
a little,
Yeah.
yeah, like everybody felt isolated, right? So yeah, it was a very isolating time.
Mhm.
And yeah.
And then he went to rehab, and how did that go for him?
Um, he didn't fully finished.
Mm.
He went through almost 3 months. Then he relapsed though there. And then from that on, he came back after a while. And then when it was really like, my love can help him.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just need to love him more,
Yeah.
and I need to be more understanding and supportive.
Right.
I don't know. Of course, like it didn't
We
work.
as mothers and nurturers and caretakers, we love to think that that is the answer. Yeah.
It's so, yeah. And then he was writing me letters, and, you know, he was talking about the regrets and what he learned, and, what he goes through in the 12-step programs. And uh yeah.
Hmm.
And then he kind of went back and forth. He had to leave again. And then on a certain point, it was just like, okay, we can't go back and forth because of the kids. It needs to be a cut now, and you cannot come back until you're a year
Yeah.
sober, at
Yeah.
least. And that never really happened.
Hmm.
And so I enjoyed the peace and the quiet and the nod. I was sleeping with my wallet. I was sleeping with my car keys.
Hmm.
Um, it was just this constant, I have to hide stuff,
Hmm.
make sure he's not taking cars or,
Yeah, of course.
yeah. So it's kind of this really, you're not really sleeping, even though you learn how to sleep because you're so exhausted.
Yeah.
You're always waking up, looking outside. Is he here? Is he there? What is he
Yeah.
doing? So yeah, that was not there anymore. And then from that point, I started my healing journey, really.
Yeah,
What
that's
about you?
yeah, because your healing journey is just as big as his healing journey to
Yeah.
yeah, to go through everything that you went through and to be upholding that space and love and attention for your kids and for yourself and a career on top of a partner that does suffer from addiction. And your book, A Children's Story About Addiction and Hope. Let's talk about the
Yeah.
hope side of it a little bit.
Yeah.
How did you maintain hope, or where did that come from? I'd love to know, because during this time, I can just imagine, like, were there times that you just wanted to throw in the towel and give up? Were there times
Oh,
that you,
yeah. I I think the only reason why I'm still here is because of my children.
hmm
Um, there was no other choice. There was no other choice for me. I had to keep going, but I have to say I had to was medicated for
of
a year in the very beginning because I was like, I don't want to get up. I don't want to do nothing. I
course.
want to cry all day long. I want to sit in my room, don't hear nothing. I just want to cry, play
Yeah,
around. Um, and then once I felt better, I got off that and, um, you know, was more like proactive about not drinking alcohol, sleeping enough, work out and all these things that made me um, get into a better headspace and just feel healthy and strong. And that makes you usually just feel better, like you said, better nutrition, better life. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, but the beginning was definitely I struggled a lot. It was very painful.
yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and often I see how, even with my dad and his drinking, so much attention would go to him during the drinking, but then even after he stopped drinking, all of a sudden all the attention was focused on him again, like, wow, that's so amazing. You stopped drinking. You've been sober for 3 years. Like you're helping all these people at AA. These people fall off
Hmm.
the wagon and you're there to support them. And look at you. But forget about what it was like for my mom to be raising three kids and then adopted a fourth child and then, having to live through that and live through him being drunk and falling and breaking his hip in Africa and having to drive for 2 days to find, like we forget about the person who's living through
Hmm.
all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And that's definitely something I would like to, show in or point out in the book as well.
Mhm.
Like I just want to make this for children. for
Yeah.
the new generation to be more aware and involved in these like discussions like early on, to not have another generation with all these
Yeah.
habits that are dysfunctional,
Yeah.
just to be proactive about the health and mental health. And
Well, that's a huge part of it because when I read your book and you touched on so many important parts that I was hoping would be in the book, how your ex, the father of your children did go to rehab and I think eventually started to look at the trauma.
mm-hmm. Yep.
And did that happen the first time round or was that later on?
Yeah, slowly. I mean, he went several times, and he also ended up in prison, um, where he had more time to think and work on it. It was I think the first time he couldn't really fully take it in because it was too much. That came
Hmm.
all of a sudden, everything just
Oh,
came
yeah.
out, and it was just too much. And I think that's why he probably, well, I don't know why he went back. I just it it was too much. That's what he told me. It was too much for him to even process. And I think he needed, and he's still working on it. When I talk to him, he's still working through things, and
Hmm.
it's a lot of work to just go through years and years and years of unprocessed trauma
Oh,
feeling.
I think about what I went through. And again, you talked about going to Al-Anon and hearing these stories of other people who have gone through worse. But we can never really compare ourselves to anybody else because what we went through is what we went through and it's big
Yeah,
and we have to just acknowledge and accept that
yeah,
even
that's
like it's not in relationship in comparison to anybody else. So I was just about to say that, well, what I went through wasn't as bad as, what you went through, with your partner. And, I was just about to do that, but it's taken me years to
yeah,
understand and process it. And that's for somebody who, um, I drink a little bit now. I gave up drinking for a long time. I was never a big drinker. It doesn't really sit in my body very well. And so, but I can tell like during stressful times, like even just going through big stress, like I was like, oh, I would love to have a drink right now.
yeah,
And that's for someone who doesn't have addiction to alcohol and drugs but wanting to numb this feeling of tension and fear and everything that's coming up. So, but even for myself and what I went through with my family, on the outside, it looked really pretty. On the inside, it was horrific, but
hmm
not as horrific as some other people, but still has taken me years
hmm
to understand and make sense of it to the place where I'm like, okay, I think I've accepted it and I'm actually grateful for it. But it's taken forever to get there. So I
yeah,
can't even imagine what it's like for you, for your partner, especially because it meant losing his two children. So now he's got that loss on top of that as well as facing up to the fact that he has an addiction, as well as facing up to the fact that that's probably tied to trauma. And, so it's just like boulder after boulder after boulder in front of him. And so it's not an overnight thing. Like my mom used to say, like, I don't understand why he can't just stop drinking. Like, and I was like, it doesn't work that way. But to have what I was going to say about your book, though, is that I read the books, you address so many elements in there that were so important, like about lifestyle, all the lifestyle changes that you can make as
hmm
well. You talked about like the need for exercise and sunshine, I believe, and there's a whole, like you laid it out so beautifully. And we have to address all of those things because those are all our medicine as well.
hmm
And so I love that you did that. And then when I got to the end of the book, I just started crying. Like, and even now I'm emotional about it, but I'll explain why in just a
yeah,
second.
Hi, it's Scott from Team Richer Health. I'm thrilled to share a unique opportunity to join us as a founding partner in the Richer Health Hotel and Wellness Center right here in the Cowichan Valley in British Columbia. Canada's first center dedicated to reversing chronic disease and mental health disorders. This is a project that has been years in the making, blending everything we have worked on: chronic disease reversal, education, regenerative tourism, and sustainable real estate. And now we're inviting investors like you who share our vision to come on board at this foundational stage. As a founding partner, you'll receive equity in a state-of-the-art facility, access to diversified income streams from clinic services, education programs, and wellness tourism, and the potential for a projected 10x plus return on your investment. Most importantly, you'll be part of a global movement creating a life-changing impact, helping people reclaim their health, restoring families, and transforming communities. If this resonates with you or someone in your network, check the links in the show notes or reach out to us directly at richerhealth.ca. Together, we can make this first of its kind project a reality. Thanks for listening.
It was the book I wish my mom had had to read to us when we were kids, because it would have helped her understand who she was living with,
Yeah.
what she was going through, and it would have helped her to be able to communicate to us about it. And we didn't have anybody communicate anything to us about
Yeah.
my dad's addiction. So we had to figure it out for ourselves in our 40s, my brothers, myself. Like, it was the very first time we ever addressed it. And to learn that and discover it on your own, and then it makes you just look at your whole life and go, oh my God. And then you start to see your little children inside, all the little children, the 3-year-old, the 7-year-old, the 12-year-old, the 20-year-old, the 30-year-old, like, it doesn't stop. All the younger version of ourselves need to be healed after going through that. And that was really hard. Like, that's what took so long to heal from that, and still healing. I don't know if you're ever fully healed. So I just, yeah, I sat outside, I remember, and Scott was there, my other assistant was there, Gina, and I read the book out loud to all three of us. And I was like, wow, that's a really good book. And then just, it was yeah, the mother in me, the inner children in me, that was so grateful that you had written this book, and how I had wished that it had been available for my mom and my brothers and I. That would have been, and how I know I'm going to be, like, I asked to keep the copy of the book Scott brought, and I'm going to be buying many, many copies and giving it away, because, like, so many of my friends are married to partners who have drug addiction and alcohol addiction, but they've never admitted it to me. I see it. I'm like, I
Yeah.
think they have it. I think your partner has a
Yeah.
problem, but they
Yeah.
don't see it. They don't want to see it. And their kids need this book. And I don't know how I'm going to give it to them yet. Like, do I just give it to the kids, or do I give it to the mom? Like, I'm not quite sure if you have any suggestions on how to do this. Do I just leave it laying around their house, mail it
Uh,
to them anonymously? I don't know what the answer is. So if you can tell me, that would be great.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, that's the hope what I have, that this is the reaction for people who, read it, that they feel touched and they feel seen, and feel that that's what they would have needed, and that's what they would like to share with people they know, or with people that in their own family, where it's probably a little bit easier to be like, hey, look at this book.
Yeah.
It has a really beautiful message in it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's amazing that you share your emotions like this. It's very touching to see this. But that's really what um why I want this out there. And
Yeah, because it's not just a kid's book, right? I mean, we
yeah,
all have our inner children, right? And
yeah,
that's what it touched in me, is that it's actually a book for the children who are now adults who
yeah,
went through that.
yeah.
Yeah, which is significant. So during this time, you start exercising, I don't know if you're eating well, or you're starting to eat better, moving your body.
Mhm.
Were you going to therapy at all? Was there?
Yeah, I mean, first were my children. First priority were my children. I should have put on the mask first, but
Yeah.
I was, I was like, no, I need to figure out, put my kids on lists, and because my financial situation was not capable to go somewhere. Well, I also got laid off during that time,
My goodness.
and as I was covered through my previous job for some of my kids' therapy, but then that stopped. I tried to keep it up because I was like, okay, this is just first priority. And then we had a really wonderful therapist, but I couldn't sustain it anymore. And then we found some government supported uh, therapists and for my kids. And then I started to go myself as well. Yeah, very, very important. I did some coaching classes. I took everything what I could for free, what I could find, and just like you said, writing down my feelings and all the tools kind of like I found online, and the meditation was huge. I was meditating almost 2 hours a day.
Wow.
I got up very, very early in the morning, 4:35. I still do. I go to the gym at that time. So when I come home, I can wake up my kids.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that before because they were too young. Now
Yeah.
they were old enough I could do that. But yeah, therapy was important in that whole process, and over and over and over and over, and this feeling comes up over and over
Hmm.
until nothing triggers anymore.
Well,
Or
it's interesting to hear you because here's what I'm seeing and here's what I'm hearing. When and having worked with many clients all around the world, many different cultures, ages, genders, um, there's individuals who'll say, well, I don't go to therapy because I can't, it's too expensive. But you then said, okay, I'm going to find the three free versions and I'm just going to take in as much free stuff as I can because I
yeah.
have a limited budget that, I can't just, and I've heard so many people, even one of my brothers, like, I don't go to therapy because it's so expensive. And I was like, well, have you tried looking for an alternative? And so what I'm seeing is you have tenacity and you have courage and you have a humbleness because to accept free services also requires a level of vulnerability and humbleness and to say I'm deserving of that, so I'm going to take it. And and it's not easy to find those free services. I think it takes looking, it takes asking. So you must have done those two things, researching, taking the time aside to say, well, I want those services, I need them, I can't afford them, but I'm still going to go after them, which is amazing. So you have this level of tenacity, which is quite incredible. You also have two young kids, you're a single parent, but you're like, okay, I'm going to get up at 4:35 in the morning and I'm going to meditate and I'm going to go to the gym. A lot of people will say, well, I can't meditate, I can't go to the gym, so therefore I just don't do it. I have two kids, but here you are showing that it can be done, which is amazing. That I'm seeing that, even in myself, sometimes I'm like, I don't have time to get to, of course I do. I have a 14-year-old. My other two kids are, 18 and 21 living on the other side of the planet. And so I definitely can go to the gym every day. So you're just reminding me about some of the things that I tell myself when we start with, I can't, then you're probably not going to make it happen. But when you go, I need this for myself,
Mhm.
going to do it. And, I think that's huge that if people are listening to this, some people say, oh, it comes easy to that person. But it's not. It requires so much. And that's what you're showing our listeners and our viewers here, is that you are putting the oxygen mask on yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like brushing the teeth. It becomes like you almost need it on, like
Mhm.
it's the initial, getting into it. And
Hard, hard as heck.
everyone's really like you don't want to do it, and at 5 the alarm goes off, and you're like, I don't, especially in the winter, I
Yeah.
don't want to get up. But then you come back, and all the endorphins are doing their work, and you start feeling better. It's already I set the tone for the day,
Yeah.
and then I eat better. I'm more patient with my kids,
Mhm.
and that trickles down to all different kind of areas in my life.
You
But
sleep
yeah,
better.
yeah, you sleep better. Yeah, so the beginning is hard, but then it's like I need it, otherwise I'm not feeling good.
Hmm. Yeah.
I have to keep my mental health going that way because I can't afford to not.
Yeah. And you're bringing in all of the elements that are crucial for maintaining health mentally. and physically. So you're bringing in the physical movement. It's been proven 20 minutes of exercise a day can keep you off antidepressants if you are depressed. 20 minutes of just even walking. And the studies have been repeated over and over and over again to show that that works better than almost all of the antidepressants. And not to say that antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds are bad. They're not when you don't have any other means and any other tools available to you because the moment is so tough and so difficult and you can't get the oxygen mask on yourself because you're just basically not even treading water. You're just about to drown. 100% those medications are good. But ultimately we do want to get off them eventually, but 20 minutes of exercise a day or more, going to the gym, working muscles, this eating well, making sure you get good sleep, meditation, like these are all the elements that are so being in nature. I'm sure being in nature is
Yeah, huge,
yeah, huge for
huge
you.
every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every day. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Some people will think like I can't get out into nature and I can't go hiking or biking every day, but nature is outside
Mm.
every single day. It could even be sitting inside with a plant.
Yeah.
There is nature has so much to teach us just being and breathing the air that's around the plant, the soil, the everything. A river, it could be a stream, it could be a trickle of water, listening to a trickle of water come down from the roof or anything like that is so powerful if we could just slow down enough to sit with and appreciate it. So you're doing all of those things. Um, yeah, so and you're living proof that it works.
Yeah, yeah, I feel much better. And I just want to say to this too that my daughter, like every child is gonna find their own way to calm themselves, but my daughter was always drawn to water. And when she
Mm,
was like very, very young, like 4 months old, we put her in like glacier water lake and
yeah.
her eyes just went up and
Wow.
she was smiling. She was smiling. She was just in a happy place until today. After all this, when she feels bad, she is going having a bath, or we jump in the ocean or in the lake in the winter.
Amazing.
That's what she knows already now. If she starts to feel agitated or start to feel uncomfortable, or she feels like, then she goes and connects with her calming element, which is water. And it's beautiful to watch this, to have that tool for her. I'm just like, yeah, that's so
Mm.
great.
Well, and I'm just seeing just what an amazing, present, loving mom you are to recognize that that is her medicine. The water is her medicine, right? And to be able to give that to her. And it's so simple,
It's
right?
so simple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
she
whether it's
can
a
sit in
bath.
the bathtub
Yes.
right there, or her hands under the water. Sometimes it's when it's not like the emotion is still in the very initial state. She just goes and puts the hands on the water under.
Yeah, my youngest is she's the same, but with being on a trail, like she'll fight you to get
Yeah,
there, but the minute she's there, she never wants to leave, and then
yeah,
her whole system changes, her whole being changes, and she's just she's who she is at the core. It's
yeah,
like she fully expresses herself as she is
yeah,
without any filters or anything like that. And the stuff she tells me as well, it's like all the truths come out when we're on a path in the woods. Yeah, and it's just the most healing thing. So to know that and recognize that in your child, you'll probably find that the medicine your kids need the most are the things that are so free and available
yeah.
to us. And it's we just need to take the time then to give it to them.
See it that as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which is amazing. So where can people find your book?
My book is on Amazon, available in all the globally, um, for the moment. I'm working on other places, but for now, this is the place to
Okay,
put. Yeah.
amazing. And did you self-publish? Did you get a publisher? Tell me about that process of writing your book.
I was early on like the only way I can do this is probably self-publishing.
Yeah, that's
It
great.
was never um I never went another route. So yeah, it was clear for me to do it that way. Just because I have the freedom and it's easy to do. It's
Mhm.
quite simple. So yeah,
It's a beautiful way to do it. Self-publishing or getting a publisher. It's harder to get a publisher when you could
Yeah.
actually just pull the plug and make it work and get it self-published, and then it's out there. I am going to introduce your book to our publisher. We have a lit agent and a publisher, and I'd like to introduce your book to them and see what they could do with it. Because especially one of our publishers, their line of books is called Books That Save Lives.
Oh, wow.
And I think this would be a
Okay,
very
that's
beautiful book in that line of books. Yeah. So I'll be chatting with you after this about how to do it. Who did all the drawings for your book? Tell me about that because the art is phenomenal.
that's me as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I it's all done in Illustrator. Um, yeah, that was therapeutic as well. I just needed to do it myself. I could have hired someone with way more expertise and
Oh, you
you
have so
know,
much expertise in this. It's amazing. The art is
but
gorgeous.
yeah, I think yeah, just it was just my journey that I needed to fulfill here.
Yeah, a cathartic therapeutic process for you.
Mhm.
The art in your book is phenomenal. And the one thing I want to know, how did you come up with their sea otters? Is that correct? You tell
Yeah,
the story through a family of sea otters.
yes.
Yeah.
I came just we went always to a beach together as a family here, and it's our favorite beach.
Hmm.
And there was always this sea otter family coming in and out of the water, going up the hill, down, it was beautiful to watch. And when I was sitting alone and started, in front of the white paper, if you write or draw, it's basically the same process. You brainstorm, you go through your techniques, and then I was like, it must be the sea otter because we were always there together as a family, and they have such a strong internal family sense that this made just so much sense to use that as a character. Yeah.
Amazing. And were you a writer before this?
No, no, I still don't see myself as a writer.
Okay, well, you're a published author, so
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
going to say that you are a writer. So I'm just going to hand
Yeah.
that over to you. And
No, no, I always felt drawn to creating art or products or you know like drawing. Early on, that was my thing. When everything went down in my house, I shut the door, I put my headphone on, and I was drawing big things and for hours and hours, and I forgot what's going on
Mhm.
um around me. That's who I am, for
Well,
sure.
when I read it, I was really just very thoroughly impressed. I mean, I'm not a connoisseur of writing by any means, but I know what I like. And it just felt to me like you're such a natural storyteller, a natural writer. The way you introduce this through the family of sea otters, I just, and I think that's what moved me so much is that it wasn't a prescriptive book that said, your dad has addiction. It wasn't like that. It was a beautiful story. Like the narrative was incredible to just be in the book as the sea otters. I saw myself as the little sea otters. I saw my mom explaining it to the kids. I saw where dad went. And, at no point in the book, like, did I ever feel, like me growing up, that when my mom did talk about addiction, it made it look like my dad was a bad person, right? That had this
Yeah.
illness, but that's not the sense that I got. And I really saw myself as a child being read this, like somebody reading me this book and explaining it to me. And I was just like, oh, I get it. Like, I get it. Like, I am that baby sea otter. And so the way you told it was just like, it was phenomenal. Like, I was shocked, like, to hear from Scott that, that you weren't a writer. It just blew my mind. So I just think you did such an exceptional job on the art, the storytelling, and which meant that you clearly have done your work because you were able to tap into the elements of yourself and you shared that. You share that in the book clearly.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just yeah, it's beautiful. So everybody out there that is listening, we're going to have the link down below in the show notes so that you can go to Amazon anywhere in the world, and order copies, give them away to your friends. I don't know what strategy you'll do that. Once I figure out a way to do it, I think I'm going to send the books anonymously to my friends and just we'll start with that. Yeah, exactly. Something that I think maybe you should know. I don't know I'll let you know how that goes for sure. This conversation reminds me that I still have some more healing to do. I'm going to share this book with my dad. That's the very first person I'm going to give this book to, and my mom. So they're each going to have their own copy as well, and to my brothers, because they definitely need to read this book, which is going to be massive. So I want to thank you so much for the tenacity and courage that you have to put this into the world, because this book is definitely a book that is going to save lives, help so many people. And if we can do anything to help you get it out there to more people, definitely sending it to our publisher. Please let us know, and we're happy to help you in every capacity.
Thank you so much. That was a very heartwarming and emotional to talk with you. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're a very beautiful human, and the grace, which I know it wasn't always graceful, but just to see you now, like, you are just exuding grace in this area, and we need that. People with big hearts, lots of grace, the ability to see things from many different angles as well. And I'm so glad that your children have you as their mother, because I can see the space that you hold for them as well. Going through all, we didn't talk very much about them, but that could be something for another podcast, because I'm sure there's lots to talk about, what it's like from your kids' perspective as well. And we didn't quite get into that, but I think we have time. Yeah, in the future.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thanks everybody for listening, and you know what to do when you listen to these episodes. Please share them with your friends. If any part of what Janine talked about today, what we discussed on this show, resonated with you, please share this link, this podcast, with other people in your life, because it's through storytelling that we are able to change the world. Oral traditions have been with us from the beginning of time, of humanity, and will always continue to be here. So thank you for sharing this show with everybody that you know.
Thank you for listening to Janine's powerful story. If her journey resonated with you, or someone you love is walking through addiction, remember, you're not alone. Support, healing, and community are out there. So please be gentle with yourself and take what you need from this episode, and join us next time as we continue exploring real stories of transformation and hope. Bye for now.